All right. I just turned on the Zoom lady and I'm going to minimize this thing. And so we shall roll on here. Tim Daman's my guest today, everybody, and we will be getting going here in just a momento. And, we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. So here we go. Yes. Sure, I got all my cards stuff together. Here we go, bro. Last week, Craig Stiles was with us. Why is it not moving? Hold on, something's wrong. Uh-oh. Stop. Last week, Craig Stiles was with us. Oh, that one, 3 tips, higher ed funding. Didn't really start off that way, but then it sort of morphed that way. And that's kind of how our shows always go. We're so spontaneous. I click a button, doesn't work. Hey, it's technology. I got one of my really good friends, really good friends from way back in the day. Tim Daman will be with us here in just a second, talking about what I lovingly like to call the ReFirement zone, which is mid-Michigan. We are going to make this thing happen in mid-Michigan and just have that loyalty. You know what, Tim, something's wrong here because I'm not getting my levels. Hold on. Something. Whenever now it's going. All right, stop. I'm going to restart this session. This happens occasionally. Ah, dang it. Sorry, bud. No. All right, let me start this again. Best laid plans always. That's 2, 10. -1. Save. All right, let me make this bigger. Let me see if I can make this work. Give me a level check again. Just say hello.
Yep. Test 1, 2, 3. Hello.
Okay, good. You're good.
Is that good?
Yep. All right, let's try this again. Last week, Craig Stiles was with us. Financial fitness, all of the good things that go along with financial fitness, Ameriprise. And I started off with 3 tips and we morphed into funding higher education. Hey, it's all about providing the services and finding the people that can help you get to the point you want to be in your life. That's what we do here. Been doing this thing 12 seasons now. I started 13th season here, not too long. One of my buddies is with us, really good friend from back in the day, Tim Daman, currently the president and CEO. This is an old bio and I'm going to go off of it. So Tim, if I make a mistake here, it's my fault, but that's how long I've known Tim. Tim Daman is currently the president and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. Love talking to Tim about where we're going with mid-Michigan because these things can be replicated all over the country. And what are other regions, what are other cities, Lansing being the state capital of Michigan, obviously, what are they doing to help promote business? What are they doing to help encourage our young people to stick around and get jobs and, just all of the good things that happen in life. He leads the Chamber's team in business development, amongst other things, business advocacy, government relations, international trade development. He wears about 14 hats, probably, if he needs to vacuum the lobby, probably does that too. Prior to joining the Chamber, my pal Tim spent 6 years with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, figuring it all out, where he was involved with the state's economic development and marketing efforts in promoting Michigan as a high-tech business location, which seems to be working out pretty well. He's a graduate of Michigan State University, go green, Spartan like me, where he earned a Bachelor of Communication Arts and Science degree. And he is, I assume, still living in Holt, where we used to live, but I don't really know. I didn't ask you that question. Tim, are you still living in Holt?
Tom, I am still in the same neighborhood in Holt. I certainly am.
Yeah. Still doing your yard like you always did?
And the yard, you know, our yards, it was a friendly competition back in the Colonial Village days, right? So,
Yeah.
but the yard looks pretty good.
Yeah, I bet it does. And here's the story. Okay, so I'm going to throw a little side story here. Okay, so when I first met Tim, I don't even know, 1995, 98, it's been a long time. When we reconnected, because he went to high school with my brother, we lived across the street from each other. Let me put a little timeline on this thing. When we were living across the street from each other, his son, Jason, was born. And I remember this little 2-year-old boy hitting, and I've told this story a bunch of times because it was so amazing to see this little kid hit this plastic bat and ball. His dad's throwing him the ball. He's hitting the ball over the dang power lines in Lansing. The kid was 2 years old. Well, now that young man, that little boy, is my next door neighbor. Sandy and I's next door neighbor, and we couldn't have a better next door neighbor. So it was just shocking how it all worked out. So you remember those days, man, throwing that ball to that kid and just watching him just wail that thing. Kid's got great hand-eye coordination.
Oh yeah, you know, I sure do, Tom. And you know what? The thing is you and I, we haven't gotten any older yet, right? But the kids are growing up and getting older and whatnot. But you and I, we haven't aged at all. So
At all. So let's catch everybody up on Tim and the fam. And you've spread out. Things have occurred. You've got things happening in your life, and it's all good in the Michigan Chamber. But catch everybody up. It's been a long time since you've been on the program. Thank you again for coming on, and let's talk Lansing. But share your backstory a little bit, and just go right ahead, my friend. Please take it.
You read that bio, and thank you. You're very gracious in that. And I think a couple of things that, with that, you mentioned the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and I spent 5 or 6 years working there, and that's where that passion that you talk about, developing the passion for what you're doing and what's that purpose and your why. And I developed that passion for economic development. I walked into that role, Tom, and I had spent 10 years working for a privately held manufacturing company here in Holt, family owned, and weren't involved in our region at all. And all of our business was outside of the state and internationally. And so not really connected to the community that I called home and grew up in. And so I think making that move from the MEDC back in 2005 to the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce, it's been so rewarding. And thinking about where the region was at that time, where we are today. And I think more importantly, I'm just as optimistic about the future and what the next 10 to 20 years looks like as well for the region as where we are here today. And being able to do it in your hometown, there's something special about that.
I totally agree, man. I tell you, when Sandy and I moved back from Big House Holt to Little House Lansing, it was obviously a culture shock for us, but it was really, when they say you can't go home, Timmy, you can go home, and we're probably never gonna, hopefully Ashley's not listening or won't listen to this episode, but we'll probably never move full time to Wisconsin, where we're recording this episode today, because we like both. And it's like, and our connection and my deep roots at the university, Tim, as you are Spartan through and through, there's something to be said for having the state capital, having a Big Ten university at the level of Michigan State in your backyard. I mean, it's a wonderful spot. And I hope we can encourage young people, parents, kids that come here to go to school, to stay and work and build their families and launch into a productive life. I know that you've been shepherding a lot of really cool developments. So, hey, it's all good. So what else is new with you and in your life and work down there? And why don't you set us up a little bit on where you'd like to talk about some of the things with the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce and Mid-Michigan in general? What are some of the things that people need to know about?
Well, I think the biggest thing is where our region is right now, and from an economic development standpoint. And you know what, I would say in the last 10 years we've had probably well over $3 to $4 billion of investment here in our region. And I think especially for like you and I, Tom, and people who grew up here. You know what? I was driving down Mount Hope with a friend the other day, and right by the Colony Village shopping area, and there's a senior housing development and some other things that are in this what used to be the parking lot where they would drive the cars coming off the assembly line at Oldsmobile, right? So think about that they would drive these cars down at that point in time, Logan Street up to Mount Hope, and park them in that lot, that vacant lot up there where they would be put on trucks, and then they were out to dealers and whatnot across the country. And so I just think about where our region was at that time, and so reliant upon that three-legged stool of Oldsmobile and state government and Michigan State University, and how that has just evolved and grown, and how we've seen, certainly the employment levels of General Motors, that at the height of that back in the 80s were 30,000 people, working here, down to, somewhere in that 6,000 to 7,000 employee range, but in some of the most technologically sophisticated manufacturing facilities in the world that we have here with GM. But what's happened at the same time is, we've seen this insurance and financial services sector. We've seen this healthcare sector. We've seen our IT sector, all of these other areas of our economy that have continued to grow and continue to invest. And I think also what's happened over that time is we're beginning that transition and seeing that transition of the university away from being an employer to being a key component of our region's economy and economic development. So you're looking at the spin out technology and the R&D aspect of what the university means to our region as well. So it's great to see that all happening. And like I said, I'm as optimistic for the next 10 to 20 years as I am with where we are right now.
Cool, man. It's really good to hear. You can see it if you're not from the mid-Michigan area. I hope you get a chance to check it out, everybody, because it has changed. I mean, amazing, the growth, the investment. It's taken some time, but that's okay, because good things happen over the long haul. You don't want anything to come suddenly. And Tim, I'm going to carry this through here because we're going to go to break here in a second. Yep. We reset this thing, everybody. Tim Daman's with us. He is the currently the president and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. And he's been a friend for a long time. I've known his family forever. I know his parents, and it's like, we used to compete, as we were talking about earlier, in the yard game, and how we both wanted to keep our yards looking perfect. And I just had a good guy to follow, and that was Tim. And my brother Jim was across the street. And so we had a nice little enclave going over there. We're going to talk about development. We're going to talk about growth. We're going to talk about how we encourage people and what's going on. I'm welcoming back my friend Tim Daman back to the radio program. Tom Matcho. Cool. First segment didn't start too well, but that's okay. We're good. All right, I got a read to do here, bro. And then, Candy, are you going to take off?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, Timmy, here we go. Right spot here. Yeah. Your Ameriprise financial advisor, our Ameriprise financial advisor is Craig Stiles. Can help you plan for the life you want today and well into the future. He's our guest last week. Does our financial fitness episodes quarterly, if not more. He's the guy, and with the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Be-ism. Full disclosure, as I've said lots and lots of times, that Sandy and I have put our whole nest egg of ReFirement zone savings with Craig and Ameriprise, because I don't want to deal with it. I don't know crap about that stuff. I got things to do over here, doing our media career and doing all these other things. But now that we're in the ReFirement zone, so it's actually more important now to have Craig doing what he does for us. Here's a couple ways to get a hold of Craig. 1-800-528-1355. His local number, 517-483-4893. His email is craig.stiles@ampf.com. His offices are located by Eastwood Town Center, which in mid-Michigan is a really, really super nice commercial area. 2400 Lake Lansing Road, Suite B is in Brilliant, or B is in Lansing, Michigan 48912. Be aware that with Ameriprise and Craig's reach, if you're hearing this and you're in a different part of the country or you're wherever, I mean, podcasting is just, it's unbelievable how huge it is. We get listens from all over the place. Reach out to Craig via email or via phone, and he will help you find the person that is closest to you, and he will kind of do the filtering. And that's what you really need when you're trying to find smart people, is you want to cut through the clutter and get busy. All right. So that's where you go with that. Craig started Decideri Analytics, which is his proprietary algorithm. And that's what helps him make light of weighted decisions. That's his tagline. We are making light of weighted decisions because it's complicated. And so Craig can do the whole thing. Here's some stations in and out of the network. WGHN 92.1 on the lakeshore of Lake Michigan and Grand Haven, Michigan. First station to ever carry us on broadcast radio. That's why I always mention them first. WGIM 1240 AM in Lansing, Michigan, carrying us multiple times on the weekends. WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids carried us for a long time. WKLQ 1490 Muskegon, Whitehall. We're all over the place with the Michigan Talk Network. WYPV FM 94.5 Mackinac City. This is just a thumbnail of some of the stations that carry us because of the syndication. And of course, our PBS affiliate at Michigan State University carrying us on Sunday afternoons. WKAR News Talk AM 870. I want to plug the Michigan Talk Network and Steve and Ivy Gruber and thank them profusely for having the faith and putting us on their syndication. And it's helped us grow, and we'll be starting our 13th season here in not too long. And it's just been an amazing, amazing ride. And so away we go. My guest today is my pal, Tim Daman. And Tim is a very connected, very knowledgeable, very smart guy who done a wonderful job for the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. Timmy, I wanted to ask you, because I had not too long ago, well, Andy Shore's been over and we've talked, and he's been on the show, and Julie Reinhart was on recently within the last year. Both of them have come on because I really want to support Lansing, as you know, and build up what we're doing in mid-Michigan. Your relationships between these different organizations, you guys all have a really nice teamwork attitude. How does that all work with your with the overlaps with all of that? Do you guys support each other with all the services, or how do you do that?
Yeah, you know what? We have a number of great regional partners, and I think first and foremost, I look at the Lansing Economic Area Partnership and what they're doing on business attraction, business development aspects, and you know what? It's economic development and advocacy type of work in the government relations space. They go hand in hand, and they are just they're parallel. And so having a strong chamber of commerce and strong economic development partner like we have in LEAP, it really allows our region to focus a lot on some of the business attraction, business retention, areas and aspect. But beyond that, you know what, great working relationship with another good Holt, a neighbor of ours, Julie Pinkston, and what the Greater Lansing Convention and Visitors Bureau is doing, and from a tourism and visitor attraction standpoint. And in fact, when we think about that, Tom, one of the things I'm most proud of is we launched an effort, an initiative a few years ago called the Capital Council of Governments. And it was the three counties, Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County, kind of coming together and with a common mission and goal of how do we attract more state dollars to support infrastructure and economic investment in our region. And one of the things we did was help secure the $48 million for the Heritage Hall, which is really the new welcome center at the state capitol. And so when you think about from a visitor standpoint, it's the number one visitor tourism attraction in our region. You think about all the school groups and kids that are going through that capitol every year. It's a couple 100,000 visitors. And this new welcome center they have there at Heritage Hall is an amazing addition to our historical state capitol. So you think about the work with Julie and her CVB group, our workforce development partners as well. And so it's great working relationships, I think, with that whole, you hear this term ecosystem, but that ecosystem that supports business attraction, entrepreneurialism, and all of the above. Work very closely as well with our elected officials, and that's our sweet spot. That's our space at the chamber. And then what we do, not only with Mayor Shore and the city of Lansing, but Mayor Bacon and the city of East Lansing, as well as our surrounding townships in this urban core, throughout here is just critically important to support what we're doing. And I have an amazing team at the chamber as well that kind of helps us guide a lot of those relationships with our elected officials.
We talked about the last time, or one of the other times that you were on the show, about the longevity economy. Tim Daman's our guest today, everybody. He's the president of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce and very good friend. But we talked about the longevity economy last time, and I continue to want to talk about this because it's a proven fact that people my age, the retirees who are out there, you're not there yet, but we're all getting closer, that they're the magnet that is the university, the state capitol, and having the amenities that can help people want to come into Lansing. That's why Sandy and I are thrilled to be back in Lansing, because now we're close to everything. It's like, it seemed like we were a long ways for a long time, and we loved Holt. I mean, that we loved Holt. Holt was a great spot to raise our children, but you know what? Things happen and people change, and you move on and do those things. So love for you to kind of talk about that for just a second. We got a minute or so to go before we go to break here, but all of that, that's happening all over the mid-Michigan area. Go right ahead. Talk about that for just a second.
Yeah, well, you know what, Tom, I think, and you hit on that, and this ReFirement zone, as you talk about, and this, sort of aging population. Lansing in this region is a tremendous place for folks in our demographic and age group to be, right? You have this, and whether you're driving to Williamson, to Grand Ledge, or you're Mason, there's so many wonderful communities with some great restaurants. And at the center of this, you have this urban core of Lansing and East Lansing and what's happening. I mean, you got people that haven't been back to the region in 5 years. You take them to East Lansing, they're blown away with what's happened there, right? So tall buildings have gone up. You got a rooftop bar that's overlooking Spartan Stadium. You see the skyline of downtown Lansing. So there are great assets and resources, throughout the region, support a lot of age groups and demographics.
We're going to come back and finish that thread, because that's where we want to talk about this whole show, is the region of mid-Michigan, and why you need to know about this and share it with your kids, because we're very proud of our region and our hometown. Tim Daman's here. Tom at the ReFirement Zone, Lansing, Michigan. Connect, grow, thrive. I like that tagline too. Pulled that off your website.
Like Connect, Grow, Thrive.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Really well done. The simplest way to connect with us is via our website, which again went through a little bit of a more situation. We changed some things around. I really wanted to streamline it. Sandy and I got together. We got with our advisor, and we made it better. So please go to tomattshow.com and check that out, because that's where you can connect with our YouTube channels, which are doing really well. Our new presence there, which isn't so new anymore, but it's taken a little while to get that going. But if you want little clips and video clips and short clips and all this, we got lots of stuff over there. So please check that out. It's all via the website. Facebook, if you want to connect, Facebook, Tom Matt Show, Instagram and Twitter, they're all the same, Tom Matt Show. Our mission is to build an engaged society and team. That's what we're doing in mid-Michigan. That's why we have people like Tim Daman or Andy Shore on the show, or Julie Reinhardt, or any of those people. We want to connect with all of you. So whichever social media is your favorite, please drop us a note. We will respond to every note. We want your input. I was just getting some input from a student that I know and talking about ideas. And I am totally open with getting ideas from people. So please send us a note. The ReFirement Zone, Lansing, mid-Michigan. The ReFirement Zone is all about community collaboration, cooperation, the 3 C's, sharing our stories and ideas. And that's it. And we want to build the RFZ into something special, and we are doing it. That's why we do the radio show. That's why we have the podcast. And now we have all the video stuff. And it's just a riot. And I am so grateful to people like Tim Daman, my guest today, and people like all of my mentors at Michigan State University and all of the students that I come in contact with. Love all of you guys so much. Let's talk more about it. All right, Timmy. So talking about all the different new industries that have come to mid-Michigan, financial, IT. I really loved what you said about that Capital Council of Governments. I had a professor of mine, a mentor, who always said Lansing needs to do more of this regionalization like Columbus, like Indianapolis has done. And it sounds like you guys are moving in that direction. That's fantastic. Can you please share a little more info on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Capital Council of Governments, I mean, it was really sort of born out of an idea from Bob Showers, and Bob is a Clinton County commissioner and has chaired that Clinton County board for a number of years now. And under his leadership, he was able to bring together his partners and colleagues at Ingham and Eaton County to really kind of bring this focus on more of a regional approach. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a unigov or a regional government type of collaboration, but the fact that the counties are kind of providing some leadership, I think, is critically important. I am a big believer in countywide government. I think there's a lot to be said. I think a lot could be gained from that county executive form of type of government as well. I mean, in Michigan, a lot of people will point to Oakland County and, the long-serving executive there at Elbridge Patterson, and you look at the prosperity that happened there. You're talking with a unified voice and so forth. And so there's a lot to be said about that. But the three counties, we've been working closely with them over the last, I think it's about 6 or 7 years now with this initiative. And I mentioned the Heritage Hall piece. We've had some other wins in infrastructure as well. And one of the big ones was an expansion of a stretch of road, about a 2-mile stretch of road called Coleman Road, up in the northern tier of East Lansing. And it was something that had been in the works and planned for over 20 years, and never were able to get any traction with getting some state dollars to support that investment. And we were able to do that in 2019. And in the middle of COVID in October of 2020, we cut the ribbon on Coleman Road. And so it runs in behind Eastwood Town Center. It connects from West Road over to Wood Road. And what it does is it alleviates some traffic congestion on Lake Lansing with all the business and growth that's happening in that northern tier up there. But so that was a big win and really kind of set us up for some other things as well. And proud today that we have over $800 million of infrastructure investment planned in our region from about the 2021 timeframe through the end of 2026. And a lot of that's happening right now with the rebuild of 496 going through downtown Lansing. And you're going to continue to see a lot of that investment in our roads and bridges, which is much needed, not only in Lansing, but really throughout our entire state.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. Tim Daman is my guest today, everybody. Let's talk about that. How do you guys determine these long-term plans? Because people are saying, well, fix the dang roads. Well, you gotta kind of get a feel for things. And so, for example, the $3 to $4 billion that have been invested in the mid-Michigan Lansing area proper. Along with that comes these giant buildings. Like you said, in East Lansing, they got these huge buildings now. They've got all of that new development where the Red Cedar Golf Course used to be. And it just continues to move closer and it brings everything tighter. Very proud of all of that. You must be as well, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, when you look at that, and again, the landscape of what our region and how it's evolved over the last 10 years is really, night and day. And, we talk a lot about that Michigan Avenue corridor because our region, when you think about it, in the three aspects of this, you have higher education, you have state government and the private sector. They converge on Michigan Avenue. You have this state capital, and this is a little micro economy for us. There's this little bubble around the state capital, but it's a booming, vibrant, economy in of itself. But so we talk a lot about Michigan Avenue because that's that convergence of higher education with Michigan State University, LCC, Davenport University being downtown Lansing. You have the private sector, primarily healthcare with Sparrow, and now their new affiliation with the University of Michigan and Michigan Medicine. And state government. And so it's all right there in that Michigan Avenue corridor. But very quietly, what's happened as well over the last probably 5 years has been that 127 corridor, Tom. And so you think about from Mason to St. John's, and that's a big distance, right? But that's our region. That's 45 miles apart from each other, right? So it's a big gap. But when you think about DART, and what DART's doing there in Mason, I mean, they acquired Solo Cup for $1 billion. And, just very quietly have integrated Solo Cup into their operations there. And with that, they brought a little bit more visibility and community involvement, just that whole solo cup culture and getting it integrated in with Dart and what they're doing, and significant investment in Mason. You have a $500 million new hospital in McLaren Greater Lansing that just opened a year ago. And then you go up into St. John's and you have Glanbia, which is the milk and dairy processing facility, a $500 million investment that happened in St. John. So that 127 corridor, you have over $1 billion of investment that's occurred in the last, 2 to 3 years along that. And then along that corridor, you have the 96 corridor that connects east and west, and we sit in the middle of that. You have Michigan Avenue, which we obviously talked a lot about. And then you think about that Lake Lansing corridor as well, and with the financial district and the retail aspect of Eastwood. And so you've got a lot of vibrancy, right there in that 127 corridor that's really connecting our region, not only from Mason to St. John's, but, connecting Detroit and Grand Rapids and Lansing on that I-96 corridor as well.
That whole I-96 thing with the plants that are out there and that giant building they're building, and they got the new Amazon center out there on 496. I mean, it's just incredible to me, Tim, how the morphing of the region has started to take shape. I always thought that, always believed that Lansing could become another Grand Rapids, and it is. It's becoming another even better. Nothing against Grand Rapids, west side of the state, and we're carried over there, nothing at all. But, you want your whole state to be prosperous. You don't want to have pockets of dead zones, and you want people to have an opportunity. So I'm going to carry this through, Tim, because we're going to come up on break. Let me reset this thing because, Tim's already covered quite a bit, and I want to go back and talk about downtown Lansing specifically, but also how the three-legged stool, as Tim described it, of MSU, General Motors, and the state of Michigan. It's actually more than three-legged, but those are the main base of old mid-Michigan, because now we have all of the financial stuff. We have all of the insurance. We have all of the IT. We have all of the other support structures that are out there, which are really important for people to understand. And for young people and parents that are out there, you want to encourage your kids to think about going to school in Lansing regional area, Michigan State University. Lansing Community College is a great school. Davenport's a great school. We got so many good things happening. You're going to miss out if you don't jump on the bandwagon of Lansing, calling this one the ReFirement Zone. Lansing, Michigan, the RFZ. I have said this for years. Going to continue to say it. Connect, grow, thrive with Tim Daman. I'm Tom Daman. Easy, cake, gravy. Have you had a chance to see any of my my Mad Dog Minutes on my YouTube channel?
I've seen a couple. Is Mad Dog, is he kind of back doing some podcasts and
he wants to. He has a lot of wants, and then it's a matter of putting together the want and then the knowledge.
Right.
For him and I, because I've wanted, and I've put a lot of energy into learning how to edit and set up all the, because it's kind of complicated, all that YouTube stuff. But once you kind of get into the flow of things, I'm like, I've always wanted to be a production company. So for David, I'm just like, Dave, just send me 30, 35-second clips. I'll package them up. I'll edit them. I'll put them up, and then away they go. And then you promote them. And he's just like, he was blown away. And we just started a few weeks ago. Wanted to do a podcast, and I started asking, and he's like, well, how do you set it up? And I had already, I've done a whole series of videos on my RFC channel on a 6 or 5 or 6 part series on how to do a podcast. I said, Dave, watch my video. It has all it gets complicated, and he's not a tech guy.
Sure.
So it's like, Dave, shoot the video, text it to me. I'll take it from there. That's it. And so I want to get a couple more people to contribute here and there, because I want that RFZ channel to, it's not about just me, just like the radio program. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about all the guests. It's about the listeners. It's about everybody. So, hey, if you and I want to talk about you sending me a 30-second clip or 40-second clip on the RFC and what's happening, I'd be glad to put it up on the channel. I really want to, I sent Angela Joseph a note on that. I said, listen, I'm getting to the point where I'm really interested in finding key people. And it doesn't have to be I don't want to make this a burden. I want to make it easy. So you just record something on your phone and text it to me. And hopefully you get a mic. But yeah, he's going to get back into radio down there and radio sales, but this is his exit. And I told him, I said, Dave, the future really is in video. And what we're doing with this stuff with radio and the podcast is we're promoting all of the other, everything is integrated. So yeah, I mean,
well, he sent me a couple, and I just dialed him up here, Instagram messages on the Mad Dog Minute. He sent me a couple episodes. So
yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just like, I put those up. I mean, I'm the one who puts all that shit up.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I share all that. And then I just tag him in it. But that's the whole thing. I'm the guy who does all the behind the scenes stuff, and that's fine. All right. Let me get Brock. Here we go, bro. Okay, love. See ya. The fourth segment of the Tom Matt Show is sponsored by Brock Fletcher. Brock, Craig. Selling team of Keller Williams Realty, talking about mid-Michigan and relocating and the power of our region. And Brock Fletcher is a key player in all of this. He's an investor, can either give you an immediate cash offer for your home, which isn't necessary really, set a deadline, which he did for us. And if your home doesn't sell, he'll buy it, but that really never happens. And here's again, full disclosure. I got to say what up, Mike Dedman, who was our buyer agent when we bought Little House Lansing. Brock was our seller's agent for Big House Holt. And he set the number before I even knew him. He set the number. And after I got Sandy off the ledge of selling her dream home, he hit the number right on the dot, and he will do the same for you. He's the guy. Go over and check out both of our sponsors are very prominent on our website on tommattshow.com. If you go to, we have those 12 categories and topics for the radio program, reality of real estate and financial fitness. Go check those out. And there's all kinds of different topics over there for you to search. Okay. Also what I do is I split these episodes up now that we're on video. I split the episodes up into manageable chunks. And so that you can go see if you really want to listen to the whole thing. Hey, whatever you want is what we're trying to provide for you. So most agents spend a very paltry amount of money on marketing. Brock spends thousands because he wants to give you the best services possible. His phone numbers, here we go. 853-517-853-6408. You can go online to kwsellingteam.com, kwsellingteam.com. Google search Brock Fletcher. But here's the number. 517-303-3262 is his cell phone. Text him, tell him you heard it from Tommy, and he'll know it came from radio, and you're in, and that's it. And he will offer and help you. Matter of fact, quick story again, the house right next door to me where my guest, Tim Daman, my buddy, his son, my other buddy, his son lives in the house that he bought from Mike, our former neighbor, who went to Brock because he didn't have a clue as to what he wanted to do. And he asked me, what do I do? And I said, you need to talk to Brock. Now, Brock was not, I had no idea he was going to be the agent at all. Brock got the contract. Mike was thrilled, and it's done. And now we have Jason living next door to us, and it couldn't be better. I mean, so it's all good. Again, Brock Fletcher, selling team of Keller Williams Realty. He's the guy you can trust. And that's the bottom line. Both of our sponsors on our website, go to the bottom of the homepage, click on their banners, and away you go. Okay. Tim Damon's with us today. Tim is the president and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. In his role, he wears many, many hats. Tim, I wanted to ask about downtown and students and young people and how that we are strategizing, peeling back the strategy onion here. What's the strategy? Because I've been downtown, went down to Carrie's Veg Head restaurant. She's a friend from Michigan State. Wonderful spot, Carrie McGee. Go check that out. Veg Head's awesome. But all of the downtown development down there and everything, what's happening with all of that and the incubators that are going on? Because we have those out in East Lansing, but what are you guys trying to do to bring the young people downtown? I know we got a bunch of stuff happening. Go ahead, share some of the exciting news.
Yeah. Tom, and this is where I'm very balanced with how I assess our region. I'm going to talk about the positive growth, and I will defend that growth and where we're growing. And at the same time, I'm going to be critical where we need to be critical. And I'm going to tell you this, being a parent of a 28-year-old and a 25-year-old, that Lansing is not a great place for young kids. It's not. We have to continue to work on that. And I think downtown Lansing has probably been impacted greater than any other urban area in our state as a result of COVID. We no longer have 20,000 state workers that are coming downtown and creating some energy and vibrancy during the daytime hours, and then letting some of the bars and restaurants carry the evening aspect. And so I know the mayor and others, and including the chamber, we're working hard now to try to secure some investment for some facilities downtown, potentially redevelopment in the city, selling the current city hall, redeveloping that into a hotel, into some retail, mixed use restaurants, bars, which I think could be significant, across the street from the state capitol. And so I think there's a little bit of a vision, but we have to have more of a vision for downtown and what it looks like. And having said that, you talked about some of the downtown restaurants and Veg Head. There's, just last week, there was the announcement of the Mikado Club, which is going to go into the Knapp Center. It's going to be a little bit of a food incubator with a bar in there. I think there's going to be like 5 or 6 restaurants that are going to be operating out of there. You have the old city market that's been redeveloped now, and it's the Lansing Shuffle Club, which are the owners of the Detroit Shipping Club. So if anyone and any of your listeners have been to Detroit and been to the Detroit Shipping Club, it's the same owners now that have the Lansing Shuffle Club. And they just opened here in the last couple of months, and right on the water, and one of the only places in the city that you can actually be on the water and have a drink and eat. And so I know they're looking forward to the warm weather and opening those garage doors and that outdoor experience along the waterfront. So there's a lot of great things happening, but you know what? There's still a lot of work to be done for downtown. And you mentioned Grand Rapids, and one of my mentors, John Brown, and John was the president of the Grand Rapids Chamber back in the early 2000s. Left there and spent a number of years at Jackson National Life. And John chaired the chamber board back in 2015. And during that time period, when I was working closely with John, he would always say that our region was just trailing Grand Rapids by 20 years. And he didn't mean that in a negative way. It's just the way that development was happening is that we're trending in the right direction. We're just a number of years behind where maybe West Michigan has been. And at the same time, I realize and understand this. They're double our size as a metropolitan area. They have over 1 million people. We have 500,000 people. We have 100,000 plus as city residents in Grand Rapids. I think is 250,000 plus in their city. So, it's different dynamics with where we are. But, a lot of good things happening downtown. But at the same time, Tom, there has to be a lot of work there to continue to want to keep our young professionals here and engaged in that urban environment.
Well, the thing about it, Tim, and Tim Daman is our guest today, everybody. And I appreciate you being so straight up and honest. I wouldn't expect anything less from you about that because, why sugarcoat things? Let's tell it like it is. And how do we make things better? We got to communicate honestly with this thing. But one thing that I found, and we put our money where our mouth is, Sandy and I, when we moved and bought a home in Lansing, the value that you can derive from Lansing proper is tremendous. I mean, if you look around the country, and this, the numbers speak for themselves. But if you want to relocate to this area, there's good value. I mean, talk about that for a minute. Talk about the real estate market it's so affordable.
Well, it's one of the most affordable places in the country. I think there was just a report we were recognized as one of the top real estate markets if it was for young professionals or first-time home buyers or something. It was a pretty where we were, I know we were ranked in the top 10 across the country. And so, no, we have a very affordable housing market and region here. And in fact, we did a state of the region report. We benchmarked the Lansing region against 11 competing regions around the Midwest. And this was back in 2019, 2020. And the affordability aspect, we were number one in that affordability aspect of that. And so the challenge I think we have is that that's always been viewed as a negative piece. We've got to kind of flip that upside down and really kind of sell the positivity of that, of being able to be here and buy a house at, in your early 20s and being able to do that. And now with COVID and the impact on work, and let's face it, we're never going to see probably that return to that traditional work. And you've got people that are living here in our region, living in our city now, that are working for companies on the West Coast, the Southeast, the Southwest, the Midwest, East Coast, everywhere. And that's going to continue to be a trend, right? And so, I think people's moving habits and where they're going to live is going to continue to evolve and change drastically in the future.
I'd like to talk to you about, we're going to come up on break here, so I'm just going to plant a seed here. But when we take our commercial properties and we convert those into housing, because there is, and I read the Wall Street Journal every day, and it's like commercial property with what you just said, it's an issue, but it's also it's a possibility for people when they redevelop these buildings into perhaps because we have a housing shortage and we need to kind of get a hold of this. So I'm going to come back and talk about that just a little bit here, but next segment, I'm going to ask Tim to kind of give us a message to his younger self. Let him just freewheel it, talk about whatever he wants to do, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that. Tim Daman's my guest today, everybody. The president and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. He's a good friend. He's been a loyal Spartan for his whole life. Love his family. We'll be right back. We'll talk about that. Messages to our younger self. Tim Daman. That's the thing that I've seen that they're worried about with commercial real estate and the bonding and the money and all of the investments behind it and all this vacant space. I'm like, well, we got a housing shortage. Start flipping it into flip it like Naps, because Julie Reinhardt talked about that food incubator at Naps. Those types of creative ideas. I mean, hey, got to happen. So
you talk about that, and I've talked to a handful of people that are in this housing market, and they talk about converting like the office spaces downtown into residential units, and they're like the short of significant incentives to get those done. It's just very, very difficult. So it's not to say that it's impossible. It's just it's challenging. And you know what? So Abby just moved back over to GR last December. She's living in a great little loft apartment development downtown GR. I don't know what it was, but it was an old warehouse manufacturing facility of some sort that was redeveloped and converted into residential. I was just in downtown over the weekend, one of our old warehouses off of Kalamazoo. It's on Hosmer Street, and it was converted into a CubeSmart storage facility. I walked inside there, and you know what? This building is beautiful. It's the difference in Lansing and Grand Rapids, Tom. Grand Rapids is entrepreneurial. Let's develop this into housing. And Lansing, let's put a freaking storage facility in here. We got to change that, man. We got to change it. And that's what I mean. And being critical is, not as necessarily as much critical as just like, how do we just think differently about this?
Well, that's all. Thinking differently. All right, let's get rolling here. Okay, I need your contact info. I'm going to throw it to you for plug. So email, phone number, speaking engagements, whatever, however you want people to connect with you. So I'm going to throw it to you. I got a quick read to do, and I'll throw it to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, bud. If you're a nonprofit, school, church, or youth group, need to spice it up with some talent, please go to our website, commatshow.com. Contact box is there. Share with us your situation, because we're accepting applications for speaking engagements on a pro bono basis. I will facilitate a group speaking engagement with myself as moderator and perhaps some of my friends, maybe a Tim Daman, maybe a Craig Stiles, maybe a Brock Fletcher, whomever, whatever. We'll try to make it work. Now, let's be clear here. These are pro bono. That means no charge. If you want to pay us to come over and do something for a gig, that's fine. And we'll be absolutely thrilled to do that for you. But the whole purpose of this read is just like doing this episode with Tim Daman. We want to promote, we want to get energy going. We want people to be fired up. That's what we call, I want Lansing to be known as the ReFirement zone for a reason, because I love Lansing. I'm from Lansing. I grew up here, moved away and came back. And so let's do these things. All right. So let's help each other get better. Tim, how do people get a hold of you, the chamber, your sweet website, the Connect, Grow, Thrive? I'm looking at it right now. It's beautiful. Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. How would you like people to connect with you?
You know what? So our website, lansingchamber.org, and that'll take you into the website, and you can navigate from there. There's a lot of data information on there. Personally, folks can reach me at email T and then last name Daman, D-A-M-A-N at lansingchamber.org. Shoot me a note. Be happy to talk to you anything and everything about Lansing, about our state, about anything you want to talk about. So, but we, we got a great organization, 122 years now. Our organization was founded in 1901, and R.E. Olds himself chaired our board of directors back in 1912. It's a long history, and Tom, I tell you what, humbled every day I walk through the doors there and leading this organization. But 122 years we've been around and doing a lot of great work over those years, and people that have been involved in our organizations, it's streets, it's schools, it's buildings, it's parks, all named after. So really a who's who of Lansing historical business and community leaders been part of this organization.
Well said. I mean, you know what? We got to work together. Yeah. Are there pieces that we got to need to fix? Yeah, of course there are. That's fine. Nothing's perfect in this world, everybody, but you got to think forward. You got to be forward thinking. You got to be, the thing about working at the university, as long as I did, and I'm still out there all the time. But the thing about the university that always kind of frustrated me, and I'm sure it does a lot of other people, is they're very reactive. They're not proactive. And you got to be proactive with a lot of these things. Now, crystal ball things are challenging, but hey, you got to give it a shot. And with $3 to $4 billion being invested, 800 million in investment from 21 to 26 in the mid-Michigan area in the corridors, there's a lot of good things happening, and we want to continue to share the love and let people know this is your spot, because get in while the getting's good. And I'll tell you what, Tim, one of the things about our neighborhood where we live, a lot of the people that live over there are like your son, Jason. They're young professionals who, single women, young families, all kinds of, they're all different, but it's very much younger, and it's spinning and it's greatness. And so we love it, man. It's very good. All right. So Tim, I've known you a long time. Let's do this messages to my younger self thing. It's become this new little deal that we do on the show and put it up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to put people on the spot, but it's like, okay, from your wisdom and from this point in your life, perhaps it's not talking to yourself so much as it's talking to other young people and sharing knowledge. But one of the best things in the world you can do in this life is help other people, especially young people, through your wisdom and through some of the mistakes that we've made, because God knows I've made my fair share. I mean, and I'm very open about all of that stuff, all of it. Tim, what would you be if you had if you can make it a minute, you can do a couple of them, you can do one, whatever you prefer. What's Tim Daman's message to his younger self?
Man, I tell you what, Tom, and without question, and it's funny here because you and I chatted as we were on offline starting this, and we knew we were going to be very spontaneous on this, and so but it is without question, I talk about this all the time, relationships. I grew up in Lansing, and at that time growing up, and much like you growing up here, Lansing was this tight community, and even though we didn't necessarily connect the way we are today, obviously with folks at our other school and kids and whatnot, but we grew up in our neighborhood, and you still talk to people, in fact, that grew up in Colonial Village, and you share that common bond, right? You're a Big Red, you're an Eastern Quaker, you're a Harry Hill Panther, you're an Everett Viking, and you're just always affiliated with that. But growing up in here and starting to work, I undervalued without question the power of relationships. And I started at the Lansing Regional Chamber. I was probably in my mid to late 30s. And it wasn't until then that I really understood what relationships and that networking and how you build those out and leverage that and what that could mean. And so, you know what, we talked a lot about that too with our kids. And I continue to stress that to people is, you know, how do you build those relationships and, you know what, and grow that out and just the power of it. And, you know, people will invest in you as an individual. And I had, when I first started at the chamber, I had our chief operating officer at that time. Her name was Sue Parr, was leaving Lansing and actually going to Augusta, Georgia, as the new CEO of their chamber. And she talked to me about the relationships, and she talked to me about the fact that people were going to invest in you, be who you are. And I didn't at the time, Tom, I didn't understand it. I'm 2 weeks into the chamber, but I tell you what, about a year later, it really hit me that what she meant. And I think from that point in time on, I have been about building those relationships and how you do that. And you know what? It's showing up, man. It's just showing up, I say, is 50% of it. If you show up, you're 50% there. If people like you, man, now you're 90% there. There's 10% you have to work at it, right? And I really, truly believe that. I believe that every single day that it's showing up and, you know, having those relationships and treating people well. And you do those things, you've got a great opportunity to be successful. So without question, that's what I would tell the 20-year-old Tim Daman, who didn't really understand relationships at all at that point in time.
You know, that was a great, excellent takeaway and a great message to your younger self. And that's the thing I love about doing the messages to our younger self, Tim. It's being able to step back and say, because as you said, I had mentioned it to you last week when we had a kind of a quick call, and then you really, you know, because you're a busy guy, but you know what, when you just kind of peel it back just really quickly, it's like these relationships, the communication skills. That's what Craig Stobbs was talking about last week. Communication skills, relationships. How do we help other people? Because intrinsically, when you help other people, I learned this, Tim, from my time being the old guy student at MSU. All those people who took pity on me, even the students. I had many students help me. So many young people help, still do. And I appreciate that. But it's all about that. It's all about continuing to do that. Now, let's kind of do a recap here, because we got about 3 minutes to go before we wrap this thing, Tim. What would you like to leave the listeners with? And thank you for doing the messages, by the way. But what would you like to leave the listeners to this episode, the ReFirement Zone, Lansing, Michigan, Connect, Grow, Thrive? What would you like everybody to know? I mean, at least peel the onion back a little bit. What's your takeaway?
You know what? I think that we have a region that is still in a transition period. It's growing. We have a lot of successes we can point to. We're on the cusp of potentially landing some very significant investments here. There's been a lot of talk on this, what's being called a mega site that's out in Eagle Township, right off of 96. And you know what? You use this word transformational, and it gets thrown around a lot, and I try to not do that on projects, but this project that would be out here that in this Eagle Township mega site would be transformational for our region and what that would look like. And, you know, we're talking, you know, upwards of 10,000 jobs that would be affiliated and associated with that. You talked about a housing shortage. I mean, we got about a 5,000 unit shortage right now in our region. And so we have to continue to address these housing issues. The childcare challenges, it's real, you know, as well. And these are things now in public transportation that businesses, as they start looking at regions, and not just Lansing, but no matter where they are in the country, these are the types of issues that they're looking at. Now, 10 years ago, it was tax climate. It was all these other things that were over here. What type of economic development incentives are you going to have? But today, it's real life things like public transportation. How am I going to get people to and from my place of employment? So you got to deal with boundaries here now. How are we getting, you know, CATA buses to run into Eaton County? And that's beginning to happen now. Partnerships with E-Tram, partnerships with Clinton Transit, getting people from Lansing to Delta Township, from Delta Township to St. John's and whatnot throughout the region. And so I think that those are the types of things that as regions that are growing, we're dealing with other issues that we haven't had to deal with before. And it kind of gets back to that regional cooperation. And guess what, Tom? It gets back to the relationships. And if you have relationships and you're able to build those relationships and work with people, you're going to have success.
Tim Daman is the voice you just heard. He's my friend, been a friend for many, many, many years. Currently the president and CEO of Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. Silence my phone and it still goes off. It's just kind of annoying. But Tim Damon's my buddy, and he's a great asset to our region. Tim, I appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us today. Please share the chamber's website one more time, then we'll be out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's lansingchamber.org.
lansingchamber.org. Call this one the ReFirement Zone. Lansing, Michigan. Connect, grow, thrive. If our show fits your business group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests like a Tim Daman. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Get in the gym, do your eating, do your sleeping, do your stretching, do all of those things. Love yourself a little bit more. I want to thank Sandy, Craig Stiles, Brock Fletcher, Samantha Medved, our former student, and of course, the man, Mich Anderson, taking care of everything that we do here. We'll talk to everybody next weekend. Have a great week, everybody. Go out and ignite your life. Good day now. The Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. Thank you so much for listening. We're out. See how easy that is?
That's great, man.
So easy. And then I'll cut this thing up. I'll get it to you. It'll be about a month, 3 weeks is where we're at. And then promote however you want to promote. And it's been wonderful. It's awesome. You've been a great friend for many, many years. And hopefully we got a decent football team. What's the rumor mill now? I shouldn't say this because I got the Zoom still recording. I'll talk to you off recording because I'm recording Zoom, and I got questions, football questions and stuff.
Yeah.
But we won't do it right now.
All right. No, let's not do that. But
because
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And Tom, it's funny. I love the space that you're in right now and what you're doing. And I find myself, it's that wellness aspect and kind of telling that story as well. I've become I need to listen to some of your stuff a little bit more. I listen to what Chris Johnson and what him and Matt are doing on their podcast and some of the guests they have on there every now and then. And it's just that's the other thing I would, my younger self would be that wellness component. It was fortunately for me, it wasn't severe health issues, but you know what? I hit like 45 and I had never spent a day in the hospital. And in 1 year I was in the freaking hospital on 2 different occasions, a back issue. And I had, thought I was having a heart attack, and it turned out to be more anxiety and dehydration. But it was that wake up call to say, man, your health, you got to take care of yourself.
Oh yeah. You got to invest. It's all about better odds. I learned that from one of my doctor friends. And the thing about what we do with this radio programming, I never wanted to be pigeonholed into one specific area. That's why I have the 12 topics. And those are big pieces for sure. But it's like, got to do it all. Want to be conversant in a lot of different things because I want to be able to interview like scientists and doctors and have really good conversations about all of these and at least know a little bit about all of it. And so that's why I do so much reading, and I would be happy to help you out in any way you want. You got being an alumni, you could join. We got a $200 million facility going in at Michigan State for the IM facility. You could get your alumni ID, and it's relatively inexpensive. And for you could just go in there and nobody would know who you are and not bother you. And so it's like, and I'm sure, I know a lot of people say, they go to the MAC and they still do these things, but there's so many people that you run into. That's one reason I like going I continue to do it, is it's like being around the students, a few faculty staff. I go early and get the time in. I know that Jason said you're over at the University Club, which is great. If you ever wanted to change it up, because you could buy a day pass and meet with me over there at the gym, and we could go, do a few things, just changing it up, giving yourself another extra spot to go. I think a day pass is like $5 or something,
Really?
but you got to have your alumni ID. So as long as you get your alumni ID, you're good.
Yeah, I could do that, but no, I tell you, it's and you know what, the kids drove a lot of that with us as well. I mean, they I don't know if it's this their age group or what, but so much more health conscious
Oh, yeah.
and food and whatnot and just the overall wellness. And it's to the point now, it's like, yeah, if I'm not at the U Club every morning, I'm working out at home and tend to work out at home a little bit more in the summer, because I tell you what, Tom, what got me through 2020 and just some tough times was being outside and walking, man. That 6 a.m. walk in the middle of July in 2020, when the world was just messed up, it
Yeah.
just cleared my head. And
Good.
I
It's
liked it.
all about it's all about resiliency, my friend. And it's
Yeah.
life gives us all kinds of curveballs, and it's like you just get it, and it's just having that intestinal fortitude to be able to just weather the storm. Again, it's better odds. It's because when these things hit out of nowhere, you got to be able to stand it, because you might get like a freaking Muhammad Ali right cross and knock you just goofy. And it's like, it's challenging. So you've done well. I see what you're doing. Your life has been a roller coaster, but all in all, you look at where you're at this moment, and I see your son, and I talked to him last week while he was raking his yard, and it was like, man, this is so great. I don't want to, and he was just, I told Sandy, I said, I don't want to, bug Jason, but it's nice to talk to him. And he's out there raking his yard, and he was enjoying it. So we're having a good conversation. It just throws me back to the days when I was learning how to do grass, coming from California, long hair, looking at your yard, looking at my brother's yard. It's like, it had no idea how to do anything.
Man, my neighbor across the street here has 3 young boys, and one is, I think he's 5 or 6. I think he might be in kindergarten, and he was out in the front yard on Sunday with the wiffle ball and bat. And so when you brought that up, I mean, I was almost in tears in the kitchen, thinking back to those days. And yeah,
that was
yeah,
special.
good
I mean,
stuff.
Jason is a good boy, and I don't know Abby that well. I know her enough, and it's like Lisa was amazing. And so, it's all good, bro. It's all good.
Yeah. Abby's she's doing well. She's in HR. She's really liking her new job over in GR, and she's still doing her fitness thing. And I think at some point in time she's working her plan now. I think she really wants to kind of move down this whole wellness coach, aspect. And she's been at the company. She started in November. They have given her sort of freedom to really get their wellness program reinvigorated. They had something, but very little attention to it. So she launched the wellness newsletter last month, and she was showing it to us. So when she was home for Easter, and I'm proud of her. So
I saw that, I noticed, tell her, and I know we've talked about, but tell her, I mean, I'm there as a resource for her, but I would love to talk to her perhaps on doing an episode on the radio show and talking about how you build programs like that and where you're at. And for young people, I believe that bringing young talent into this radio program has made this show way better. It's like, we're not the first show anymore. We are all inclusive. And I talk to students so much and interview and talk to, and it's just like the Generation Us stuff, Tim. It's important. It's very, very important to get their input, because what you think they're thinking about is wrong.
Right.
Thinking about something else. It's like, so I stop. It's just like, I just ask them and say, hey, well, what do you need? So if she needs something, or she, just throw it out there. I told Jason the same thing. I said, I'd love to interview you. And he says, well, what would we talk about? I said, dude, what would we not talk about? I said, for one thing, just your journey in college as a student, as an athlete, as a manager on a football team for 4 years. I mean, that's a whole show right there. And so helping parents, younger people, grandparents understand how to navigate the higher ed thing. I'm going to do a video series on it called, the path to higher ed or something like that. I've already talked to students about this. They're all down. It's like, as soon as I get the video stuff to the point where I'm like, I feel really confident about this, we're going to make it happen. And I would love to get you included too, because you know what? You're a Sparty. You graduated from there. what's your input from college? I mean, because you're removed from it a few years now. And so it's like, okay, well, what did it do for you? And so that's my whole take on this. It's like, okay, what did it do? Because higher ed's getting slammed right now with all of the debt and all of the, I don't like it. I still think a college education is worth its weight in gold 10 times over. I mean, I look at myself. I would not be doing this stuff right now, talking to the camera right now. I would not be doing this stuff right now if I did not graduate from Michigan State with both my degrees. It's just not happening. No way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's all good.
And I tell you what, it's so that the world is, it's so vastly different today. And it's, we touched upon it, just, you could do a whole show on this. And if you haven't done it, you should get somebody on to do it. It's just this changing workforce, because we're not going back to a 5 days a week, 8 to 5 environment. We're not. And companies from Silicon Valley, they're going to continue to recruit from Michigan, from Florida, and you're not going to have to relocate there. And our companies are doing the same thing now. And so this whole dynamic of where the workforce is going and higher ed and everything is a fascinating conversation. And, there's so much attention now. This is the one thing our society hasn't figured out yet. They went from, when we were growing up and graduating from Sexton, walking across the street, starting at Fisher Body, right? To it was all college, to now it's all CTE. Somewhere in here, we're going to settle in this medium where, we're going to have the best of both worlds and whatnot. And companies are doing it now. They're picking kids out after their sophomore year and saying, come to work for us. We'll get you the education. We'll get you back and get that education. And this is how this talent shortage today, right? It's real.
Our Lauren is in the same boat. I mean, she got her associates from LCC, and she now works for a pharmaceutical benefits company here, doing very well here in Wisconsin. And the training that she's got, it's been incredible. And it's like, it's an important job. And so, people need, we gotta have talent. And so, and she's not job jumping where people, I asked Jason about this. I said, how long are you going to stay at, over there at Delta Dental? And he's like, forever. And I'm like, well, that's a good answer. I mean, because too many adults are free agents, and they're, because of the lack of investment by the employer, like Michigan State used to give you all of these backloaded, all of these benefits. They don't do that as much anymore. Well, that's come back to haunt them, because now they're putting up billboards on Cedar Street of all places, looking for skilled tradespeople. It's just,
right.
I couldn't believe it. I took a picture of that and sent it to one of the union guys out on campus. He was shocked. I'm like, hey dude, I don't know what the hell's going on, but they're spending a lot of money on marketing for advertising jobs on billboards of all places.
Yeah. Right.
So what's it tell you?
It's
competitive.
It's very competitive, So it's a fascinating discussion. And I tell you what, is, leading the chamber, I struggle with this. I've come to realization that, the 8 to 5 days a week is probably not going to work. We're in a hybrid environment, and I think that's where we're going to stay. I don't think it's ideal for us. But at the same time, I'm not in a position where I can mandate 5 days a week in the office. I would lose 4 or 5 people. I'd probably have a hard time attracting and filling open positions. So I've got to find this balance. But, we're dealing right now with a couple of folks who tell me they can't find childcare. So the 2 days that we're working remote, they got kids at home that they're taking care of. And I'm trying to figure this out. Is like, that's not remote work. That's part-time work.
Right.
And so I'm struggling with kind of how we come up with what this policy is going to look like. And I know probably full well at the end of the day, I'm probably going to lose a couple of people, but I have to have you focused. If you're working remotely and I need you to be in the office for whatever reasons, you've got to be able to get there. And if you have a 2-year-old at home, that's not remote work. That's part-time work. You're working part-time.
Yep.
So
yep. Let me know if I can, I'll come down and we can have a coffee meeting, whatever, now that I am refired from the university, and assist you guys, because I told Andy Shore the same thing. I want the RFZ to have I want the thumbprint on Lansing, Michigan, the home of the beginning of the RFZ is Lansing, Michigan,
Yeah.
period. And that's a cool thing. And it's like, the ReFirement zone it's all good. We can continue to refire. People are refiring all the time. Young people refire all the time. Look what you just talked about with Abby. I mean, she's continuing, and then that's going to be the way it's going on. Jason and I were talking about this. I told him, I said, keep your skill sets up, keep your skill sets up, keep doing fun things that you like outside of work to keep your interests up so you don't get bored, and you just never know what will happen. And I told him, I said, you know what, Jason, I could see you getting an MBA or, down the road going to law school and becoming a sports agent or something, because you've always been an athlete. And it's like, and he said, that's kind of interesting you'd say that. I kind of thought about that. I said, you're going to live to be 120 years old, young man. I said, you got a long ways to go. So you won't be working at Delta Dental for 70 years. That's just not going to happen. So my 25 years at Michigan State was like a blink of an eye. And now it's onward to the next thing. So, maybe you and I are going to do something together in this media stuff. I don't know, but just start thinking about the little 30, 40-second clips. Watch some of Dave's stuff that I'm doing with it. And I really want to get people on board with that. And it's just like, hey, if you wanted to do one a week or one a month, I would put it on my channel happily and produce it, and no charge to you guys whatsoever. So let me know. Yeah,
that's interesting. You follow Tom Crawford, what Tom's doing, and Tom's like takes
a little bit. I don't really I know who he is. We've met a few times, but what's he doing?
Well, you know what he's done? He's done a nice job. He's an Eastern guy, grew up in Lansing, graduated from Eastern. And so he spends a lot of time, like once a week, he'll be out in the community visiting like a local restaurant or revisiting some historical piece. Like they did a segment on Colonial Village. Do you know Ted Turgeon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he had Ted does a lot of this with them, and they were over in Colonial Village and they were talking about, the shopping center back in the day when we were growing up. And so he just, so he kind of gets out in and just does a lot of historical, takes on different things, promotes some local restaurants and whatnot. So
gotta have that, man. The grassroots stuff is where it's at. And it's like, now with these small clips and then the longer form audio video stuff, it's an amazing journey. And we're just at the very, very beginning of it. YouTube is one of the most incredible platforms I've ever worked with. I didn't really work with it until this past year. And it's like, holy shit, is this thing powerful? And it's free. So it's like, okay, let's do good stuff. Let's put out good content and continue to do the radio is the base and the podcast.
You know what? We should, when you get back here this spring, we should grab coffee and talk a little bit about that. I'm just, I'm at a point right now, happy with where I am, but you know what, 57 this year, and I'm just starting to think about what's next for Tim. And I'm ready. I'm ready for something different. And so I don't know. I love
collaborating, Tim. I love collaborating with people, coming up with new ideas. It's just some cool things. Just start thinking about it, because I would ask people at MSU all the time. I may have said this to you in the past, but it's like, I would ask them when we first started the show, and we were mostly the boomer show, but it's like, what are you going to do post this, you doctor, you PhD? And they'd look at you like, I don't have a freaking idea. And I'm like, you better get an idea, because if you don't start thinking about this stuff, so you're in a good space now where you're going to start to think about these things. And the media stuff, I'm telling you, I've always wanted to build this media company. And I'm doing it, and we're doing it. And we've been doing it, and it's getting better, and it's going to continue to get better. And it's like, let's do it. I mean, so, taking David's clips, it's been good for him, been good for me. He and I are really close. And so he's drilling it. And it's like, we've just barely started. And it's just, I needed to do it like writing books. I needed to do the process so I knew how to do it. So when I get back, I'll send you a note, and I'll come down, come down to the office, place quiet where we can go grab a coffee and have a lunch or something. And I'd be glad to, man. It'd be great.
Let's do that.
Talk about all of it.
Yeah. So the last thing for you, I connected 2 weeks ago with the guy. He took over Dave Ackley's show in the morning on 1320. His name is Mike Austin.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about a podcast he has. It's called How to Be a Good Dad or something along those lines. And I don't know, when he was telling me his story, I thought of you and I said, you know what, I've got a good friend of mine that's doing some things around, boomers and Generation Us, and he's got a podcast, radio show. And I said, you two need to meet. Would you be good if I connected you with him via email?
Yeah, I listen to him all the time. He's really pretty good. Actually, one of his guests he had on last week, I sent a note to the guy with something to do with sciencey topics, health related. And
Okay.
we connected. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to
Right.
talk. It's always
He-
good to network, man.
Yeah, you know what, he's a little goofy, and he's never done talk radio before. He was a traditional DJ, cut his teeth in country radio and bounced around the Midwest doing, that type of work, but he's kind of evolved into this, does a lot of voiceover work. And but this whole dad podcast that he has, and he's getting ready to syndicate his 1-minute clips like to 300 stations across the country. And that's what made me think of you, because I know that you're kind of doing the same thing here. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if there's anything there with you two or not, but there might be. I'll connect you via email.
That'd be great. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Yeah, maybe I'll have him on as a guest and we can talk, and that's the way to do it. And just promote all the good things. I love his idea with the dad podcast. It's awesome. And so
Yeah.
you can't, here's the whole thing, Tim. People get nervous about, well, they're my competitors. It's like, you know what? I want everybody to be successful. I want everybody to be happy. We got enough shit going on in the world. We got enough heartache that happens to build that resiliency. I'm happy for people's success. I want
Yeah.
people to be successful. Truly, truly, truly. I've been blessed in my life. I'm so grateful for everything, for all my friendships. And that's absolute truth, man. It's the truth. And so it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good, bro. Okay, please
Yeah.
do that. And I will, I'll be in touch. And your son's doing a good job. He's raking his yard and taking care of business. So his grandma doesn't have to come over and do his yard for him.
Well, I told him, last summer was it was so messed up time with my dad and whatnot. And so we spent very little time over there with him. And so I told him we had dinner last night. Lisa's brother had his birthday yesterday. So we went out to dinner with Lisa's family. And I told him, I said, we need to get a weekend in May. And so we're working on that now. And I told him, I said, come over there on a Saturday and we're just going to kind of help you get that. We'll get some mulch down and whatnot. And so I think he's trying, he's learning, but you know what?
He's doing a really good job. He's doing
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I snow blow his sidewalk for him when I'm out there, just like I used to do over on the cul-de-sac over, Beach Nut Trail. And because I know he's working, and it's like, that's the way the neighborhood works, and people look out for each other. And so it's all good. And the girl that lives next door to him, Erin, she works for the state police. And, so there's such a nice mix over there. It's a great, we love the neighborhood, man. It's so
Yeah.
great.
It's solid neighborhood.
So
So he took care of our champ, our golden retriever. I was in Florida a couple of weeks ago and Jason had him, and I was a little concerned, but I got home and Jason goes, man, he goes, I'm going to miss kind of having him around. So,
well, he's got that nice fenced yard. So,
yeah.
all of this video post the radio thing, it's all been recorded. So I'll
Okay.
cut it out and people like seeing this kind of stuff, this kind of conversation. And we didn't say anything to, hurt anybody's feelings. We wouldn't do that, but I just want to let you know that,
Yeah.
it'll be there, and hey, it's all good. We just got to start thinking about that next thing, and I'll be happy to be there for you. And, let's do something. Let's do something together and find what you need to do to make you feel, that next thing. And when you feel fulfilled, the whole thing is a sense of purpose. When you have that sense of purpose, as you know, when you have that sense of purpose, you have that passion, you have the faith. Now you have meaning in your life. And that's the
Right.
whole 4 pillars, man. You got meaning in your life. You don't have to look for happiness. Happiness finds you. That's the whole point. Have that meaning.
People keep asking me, is like, when are you retiring? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not focused on retirement. I'm focused on what's next.
It's refiring, dude. It's like, I'll be
There you
refiring.
go.
I even changed it on my LinkedIn. It allowed me to not put retired, but refired. I don't even use the word. It's like, nope, I'm refired. I work more now for our stuff than I did when I was working for the university, even when I was taking classes. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's all good. It's because it's putting good back into the world. And that's what we got to do. And with your connections with building things and making connections and doing these things, I think that you're going to be good for doing some short video stuff, doing some, start jotting down your ideas. This is something I would talk to you when we have coffee. It's like when these little bullet ideas pop into your head, you need to jot them down immediately, because all of a sudden this list is going to grow. That's how I did my first book, and the list will grow, and you're going to pick out that top couple of things on that list and go, oh yeah, that's going to be cool. I want to do that. And that's what will happen. So just jot down those ideas, keep those fresh ideas coming. It's the self-care, man. It's all about the self-care and the love and having those good people in your life. The more good people you have in your life, Timmy, the better your life is.
Yeah, without question. Yeah.
I cut all the dead wood out, man. 25 years of sobriety, July 27th this summer. 25 years, bro. And so remember me as a sloppy, trying to get it together guy back then when we first became friends over there on Marion Street. I had not gotten sober yet. And it's like, I look back on those days. I do not have regret, because regret doesn't serve a purpose, but I do remember. And I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful. So
And that's great. Congratulations, my friend. Congrats, man.
all good. It's all good, brother. All right. Talk to you soon. All right.
All right, Tom. Hey, thanks again. I appreciate it. It's great
Pleasure.
seeing you.
All right, brother. See ya.
Yeah, bye.
All right. So Tim Daman, as you will, that 20 or 30 minutes that we just recorded, extra video. God, I just love Tim so much. He's just such a great guy. And I know we'll do something together. Love his kids and his family. And he's had tough times with his life, but he's had good things in his life as well. And we all do. We all go through tough times. And in the future, we want to be here to help you get better. So, hey, I want to say a shout out to my friend Anna Thomas. Said your name on one of my recordings. I told you I would. I'm going to do another one for you too, girl. All right. You keep doing what you're doing. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody. Love you.